Another Wednesday's come and gone, and I've got some comics. Let's talk about them. Hey, welcome to Nine Panel Grid. This week, we've seen the Bat family reunited, we've seen murder mysteries possibly get solved, and most importantly, we've seen that life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. But we're going to kick things off this week with Batman number 149, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by Steve Lieber. So this served as an epilogue to the fail-safe portion of Chip Zdarsky's run on the Batman title, and it was pretty good. I feel like the previous issue, 148, very much served as kind of the end cap to this story, but this kind of, I believe, sets us up for what Chip has coming down the pipeline. It really revolves around Bruce kind of being in full control of himself and trying to right the wrongs that have happened while he was under the influence of Zur-En-Arrh. It's a really it's an interesting take on this because I feel like it almost puts the bow on the story a little bit too neatly. Bruce and Zur-En-Arrh did a lot of damage during the time of this particular run, and the whole purpose of this book was kind of bringing the Bat family back together, bringing all the previous Robins, giving them a place and reestablishing Bruce's role within Gotham. And it did a good job on that. I just felt like it all came a little too easily given what Bruce had done throughout this run, whether it be to Jason Todd or Damian. There was a lot of damage, and they forgave Bruce very easily. But hey, that's family, right? So with that being said, Batman number 149, really good end cap. I'm excited to see where it's going. All right, the next book on our list, we're going to talk Doctor Strange number 16, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by Pascal Ferry. So this is a continuation of the Blood Hunt tie-in portion of Doctor Strange, and I think it was done pretty well. Seeing that Jed MacKay is writing the overall event as it is, and this feeling like it's the most secure title that he's writing at Marvel right now, maybe the best established title, I should say. I think it fits in really nicely with what's going on, and seeing that Doctor Strange is a major player in what's going to happen with the vampires. It all kind of just fits and makes sense. So this story kind of continues seeing the separation of Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, the entity, and Stephen Strange, the vampire, as he has now been turned here, but he's kind of being held at bay right now. And the other thing is that we're seeing some of the pieces that Jed MacKay has put into play throughout the entire previous 15 issues are now kind of starting to, come to fruition. We're seeing Victor Strange, the evil mirror version, who is quite frankly trapped in a mirror right now. He kind of takes control and he starts, putting his machinations in play, and it's kind of cool. I like seeing how the chess pieces are moving on Jed MacKay's board, and I like the way that he has played all of this out and how he has wove it into the event that he's writing too. In regard to tie-ins, this is absolutely the most successful version of that. And in regard to the overall arc of Doctor Strange, I think this is a really successful issue. I've been on board with this. I'm kind of disheartened to see that maybe this could be ending. That's all speculation, though. We'll see how that all plays out. But Doctor Strange number 16, if you read it, let me know what you're thinking. All right, sticking around at Marvel, we're going to talk Immortal Thor number 12, written by Al Ewing with artwork by Valentina Pinky. This was an okay issue. We've seen the continuation of the tie-in to the Gods event, where the the offspring of Odin are looking for one of their brothers and trying to get him out of one of these cube boxes where one of the cosmic entities has kind of taken control of his body. It was okay. It was kind of successful, but if I'm being completely honest, it was a bit meandering. The artwork was pretty good in this. I think it served the story really well. It just kind of really wasn't up to the heights that the series has set previously. So that was a bit of a letdown here. With and on that same vein, this feels narratively like it doesn't know where it's going. It very much had a filler issue kind of feel to it. We saw a lot of the scope earlier in the series revolving around if Thor is a god, who are the god of the gods? And he's done battle and he's learned a little bit more about this, and we've kind of seen some of the culminations of all these things taking place. But this just kind of It felt disjointed and a little bit jarring seeing what we had previously. So maybe Ewing writes the ship on this. I'm still along for the ride, but I really don't know where they're going to take it from here. So, Immortal Thor number 12, let me know your thoughts. All right, the next issue up is going to be John Constantine Hellblazer, Dead in America number 6, written by Cy Spurrier with artwork by Aaron Campbell. I was so glad to kind of get back into the groove of things with this issue. Issue 5 was kind of like a little, they had a lot of different creative teams kind of working and doing mini stories that did tie into the overall arc of this particular story. But this really kind of kicked us right back to where we were. So this issue revolves around John and his continuing story in trying to get back some of Sandman's dust and provide that back to him. And it continues his journey through America as he's trying to get that. And he comes across this really kind of interesting character who has used Sandman's dust in the past, and he's kind of used it as a creative outlet, particularly for comic books. It was a really cool, fun kind of meta look at some of comic creators, and maybe just a little hints of the toxic nature behind those things. Cy Spurrier just does such a fantastic job. He has a voice for this character. John feels like the John in every single epic classic Hellblazer run that you've read from the past. And it's really cool watching him navigate through America and kind of seeing some of the lore and some of the things that take place during those times. The other aspect is that we still don't really quite understand the nature of how John is back, because he's alive, but he's not really alive. And this issue definitely has something take place that is going to make that come to the forefront very soon. So I'm interested to see where they go with this. Again, Cy Spurrier's done a fantastic job. Aaron Campbell taking on art duties again after the mix and match over last issue has been awesome. His artwork is fantastic. It's gritty, it's textured, and it just fits so perfectly with this. So, John Constantine was an awesome issue, but let me know if you read it. Okay, let's talk Ultimate Spider-Man number 6, written by Jonathan Hickman with artwork by Marco Cacchetto. Let's start there. Marco Cacchetto is back, and his artwork is on full display, which I was so excited to see. Not to say anything less of the other artists that have come in to do some issues, but when he is on this book, it truly does shine. This issue revolves around Spider Man and Green Goblin Harry Osborn kind of working towards taking on Kingpin head first. And what we learn is that maybe that wasn't the best approach to take in this. The other part of the story also revolves around Peter and his family, seeing that he didn't become Spider Man until later in life. He's been kind of skating around telling every single person that he is Spider Man and letting them in on the secret. Well, things come to a head here, and it's a very interesting dynamic. The only thing that I'll say about this issue is that it feels really quick. It feels like this was like a half issue as opposed to like a full fledged issue. Some of the action set pieces that we get in this are absolutely awesome. Again, Kaketo doing some of these fight scenes, they look stupendous. There's a double page splash between him and Harry kind of breaking into Kingpin's compound that looks awesome. It is a sight to behold. But overall, the narrative of this story is just kind of okay. If I'm being completely honest, I kind of liked the talking heads between Gwen and Mary Jane and Harry and Peter a little bit more than I liked this. I needed some of the quippiness. I needed some of the, I don't know, some of the narrative flair that you would get. And it felt very action oriented, which is perfectly fine, but I needed just a little bit something. I needed a cherry on top of that. So Ultimate Spider-Man number 6, really cool issue, just needed a little bit more. All right, it's time to talk about race cars, lasers, and aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Let's talk Uncle Scrooge number 1, written primarily by Jason Aaron with a variety of artists taking on different parts of the story. This was a super fun issue. I really didn't think I was going to enjoy this as much as I did. But once you start reading it, you just kind of get those nostalgic vibes if you were like me and you watched DuckTales all the time. The voice of Scrooge McDuck definitely rings through this, and you get all of the players that you would expect to see with this. You get Huey, Dewey, and Louie, you get Donald Duck. And they really, while they are not the main players, they play an integral role in the overall story of Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime, which kind of it's almost kind of like a Christmas story kind of story that's coming along with this. Scrooge gets to see different versions of how his life could play out depending on whether he looks towards having all the wealth, and not only all the wealth in his world, but maybe all the wealth in the multiverse of worlds. Really cool, really great story, really great art. Regardless of the different artistic approaches that were taking place, everything felt in the same vein of DuckTales itself. It felt part of that world, with just little visual flares. So I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a really fun story, and it did Disney well. So they did a great job. It really did a great job also, just like honoring the heritage of the character that was created here. So kudos to you all. Y'all did a fantastic job. Jason, Aaron, keep it up. And I'm kind of enjoying seeing what could happen next for the Duck family. All right, moving over to indies, we're going to talk Brier #6, written by Christopher Cantwell with artwork by Alex Lins. Whew, this was a downer issue. This was it was a good issue, but there was nothing positive that happened for our main players in this book. This kind of picks right up off of the events that happened in the last issue, and our main players are still, they're just dealing with all of the ramifications of whether or not Briar Rose, our main character, is truly cursed. As we've seen throughout the series here, this is the Sleeping Beauty story. She's awoken much later, and the fairy godmothers that are generally there to protect her are really the villainous people within this story, and they're trying to definitely keep her at bay, and they're manipulating all the people within the society to make it appear as though Briar is definitely a curse upon the land and the people. So really what plays out in this is that the people are definitely, they're played by the fairy godmothers, and Briar and her team are on the run. The team starts to kind of doubt, the things that they're doing and the actions that are taking place. And man, it's really depressing seeing some of these characters, because this has been a lively, joyful book for the most part, because Briar has definitely lifted the spirits of all the people around her, and she fails to do that in this story due to all of the different things that are taking place. That's not to say I expected, things to go any differently. I think this kind of hit the beats that it needed to, because with the series wrapping up in a couple issues, they need to kind of, they need to pull it back and really kind of develop what the stakes are going to be. And some of those stakes are going to be the team doubting their main player. So it was a very successful issue. I love the artwork on here. I think Alex Lins really kind of takes the reins from the prior artist on the first arc, and just kind of delivers at that same level. And Christopher Cantwell, love him or hate him, I feel like he is doing something really special here that is kind of going unsung and kind of flying under the radar. So if you haven't read Briar, consider reading that first arc and maybe playing a little bit of catch up. It should be a good read for you. All right, we have yet another new #1 in the Energon universe. Let's talk Destro #1, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Andre Bressan. This was an interesting take on Destro the character, and another new issue within the Energon universe. And I say that because just like Scarlet #1, which came out, I believe, 2 weeks ago, if not last week, it feels disconnected from the Transformers portion of the Energon universe, and it kind of tells its own story. We've seen Destro kind of, work within like the Cobra Commander series that had previously come out, and this really kind of picks up from there, and it shows all of his machinations. I love seeing his interactions with Cobra Commander, because while Cobra Commander was definitely made out to be much more threatening than he ever was within the cartoon of G.I. Joe, Destro still continues to have the attitude where he's not going to take anything from this dude. Destro has his own plans, he has his own agenda, and regardless of working with Cobra Commander, he is never going to work for Cobra Commander. So it was kind of cool seeing that. And you know what? And maybe this issue was more successful keeping some of those Transformers aspects out of it, because it like allowed it to keep laser focused on Destro the person and the landscape in which he's navigating and the land he's taking over right now. It really kind of develops the character and shows you exactly what you should expect from him as a character, and what you should expect from him from his interactions between all the different people within this universe. The artwork again feels just like Scarlet, it feels a step outside of the Energon universe. Not to say it's not involved with it, but just kind of like Energon adjacent almost. So it was really kind of an interesting look and feel to it, and but I think it fit the issue very, very well. All right, our next issue up is going to be Displaced, number 5, written by Ed Brisson with artwork by Luca Casalegüeda. So this is the final issue of the series, and I think they did a pretty good job kind of landing the plane and putting the bow on the present here. What the story does is really kind of circle back around to all the players that we've seen previously, see how they're surviving in this new landscape, and it really kind of offers a bittersweet look at what these people need to do to survive, and kind of the thing that our main character kind of the burden he needs to shoulder now moving forward. When I say ending, maybe that's not the right word. This is the last issue. That's not to say that the story is over, though. It leaves things a little bit open ended. It leaves some possibilities for new things to come down the pipeline, and I'm excited to see where that could play out. Ed Brisson has kind of done stories like that in the past where they've been left open ended, and I'm excited. I think he's a really good writer, and I think that if he had ideas that he wanted to explore within these worlds again, I think that he's going to be able to circle back around and really tell cool things, particularly revolving around the disappearing cities and townships that happen in this particular series, because it's not really explained where they go or why they're disappearing. There's a lot of meat left on the bone here, so I feel good about where the series has ended right now, but I'm very curious to see what potential things could come down the pipeline later. All right, let's talk about the only magazine format comic I picked up last week. We're going to talk Spectrograph number 2, written by James Tynion with artwork by Christian Ward. I really enjoyed this issue, and I enjoyed it even more than I enjoyed issue number 1. It's the continuing story of, quite frankly, the worst mother in comics as of right now, in my opinion, as our main character is still stuck in this house that has now turned her into, quote unquote, a ghost, along with one of the employees of the company who is researching this house, and some of the house's abilities to do what it's done to turn humans into ghosts. It was a fun story. It really kind of it peels back some of the layers of the onion, since it's James Tynion. I gotta throw that in there. And it kind of shows us some of the background of the employee of the company and how she got to the place where she was, and how she started trusting her employers, and why she made some of the decisions that she did. You also see kind of a bond be formed between the real estate agent and the employee, as they understand that the only way out of this house, and maybe the only way back to the world of the living, is going to be by working together. We also learn a couple more things about the nature of the house itself and how it is doing the things that it's doing, and maybe why the employer has made some of the decisions to explore these routes. It kind of looks at those, those kind of things in a different way. So I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. I think that this developed the characters much more than the first issue could have, and I'm excited to see where this goes. It's unraveling the mystery at a nice pace, and I think that this is going to be fantastic. So if you read it, let me know what you were thinking. All right, moving from ghostly and macabre to caricature cartoony, let's talk Uncanny Valley number 3, written by Tony Fleeks with artwork by Dave Wachter. Again, this is a super fun issue. How can it not be when you're working in the world of cartoons? We continue to see Oliver and his grandfather, the cartoon Yosemite Sam type character, on the run, and it is fun. We kind of continue to see more of the cartoony aspects and the rules and laws of nature with cartoons kind of come into play, and we see Oliver start to develop and use some of these abilities, seeing that he is kind of a being of both worlds between the cartoon and the human. This unravels the mystery a little bit more, but the story overall leaves us at a place where it got me really wondering what we believed from issue one. Is that truly how things are playing out, or is there more to the story that we're going to be led to? Um, it's really cool. I think that this book is ending up being more mysterious than I anticipated it was going to be. It still continues to be fun, but the stakes are definitely raised here. And I'm very curious to see how things are going to play out, because what I want to see is the mother character kind of come into play a little bit more here, because we still don't understand how Oliver, the main child character in this, kind of came to be and how he became a creature of both worlds. I'm excited to see how this all plays out, and I want to see some of these questions answered in the future issues. But this issue overall, very satisfying, very exciting to see where it's going to go. And with our runner up pick this week, we're going to talk The One Hand number 5, written by Ram V with artwork by Lawrence Campbell. This is the final issue of the series, and it took a very interesting approach. Whereas each individual issue prior to this of The One Hand has been told very much in a structured way, where we're following the character as each event takes place in real time. With the final issue, though, we kind of see our detective character Ari in the very near future, telling the events of what happened in the final days of the series itself, and he's kind of unraveling some of the mysteries that took place in his pursuit of the six-fingered killer. This was a very successful issue, and I really liked some of the mysteries as they unfolded. But to say that it was a satisfying ending, I can't say that yet. And I only say that because this series is running parallel with the Six Fingers, and we haven't gotten the final issue. So I feel like this plants the seeds of some mysteries that have yet to be solved. And I'm very curious to see how Dan Waters answers some of those questions in the final issue of that book. Overall, I think that some of the things that we're being told issue by issue are very nice to be, it's nice to see some of the questions answered in an episodic manner or an issue by issue manner. But overall, it very much feels like this entire series and the story as a scope between the two parallel series is going to be much better read in one sitting as one complete story in itself. But as an end cap to our detective story, I do feel like this was very satisfying. I love Ram V's work. I think Lawrence Campbell did fantastic in the artwork on this, and the pairing was pitch perfect. And I'm excited to see where this goes from here, seeing that the Six Fingers final issue is coming out in the very near future. All right, it's time to talk about our top comic of the week. And this week's top comic, Helen of Windhorn number 3, written by Tom King with artwork by Bilquis Evely. This is just a series that continues to surprise and delight me. I did not anticipate this being another book that was going to be the top comic of the week. Not because I feel like they're delivering anything that is lackluster. Far from it. It's just that the series continues to, I don't know, just delivers every single thing at such great heights, and deliver things that it's subverting my expectation in so many really great ways. This issue sees our main character and the grandfather kind of worm their way into this world that Helen really kind of wanted to see out of her grandfather so badly in the prior issue. We're entering this magical realm, and we're seeing some of the things that inspired the stories that her father had written. And we're learning things about Helen and the grandfather that were, quite frankly, again, surprising. I didn't think that the story was going to take some of the turns that it did. I definitely saw some of the magical realm things happening, but I was anticipating a Narnia type approach where they're just entering a world and then they're going to be able to back out of it, at will. This explains some things that I definitely can't wait for issue 4 to kind of develop even further and to mold and to kind of see where things are going. All the while, we continue to see future looks at the reporter and some of the things that are happening with the estate of this family, as collectors of the world of Windhorn are looking to get some of the original work from the series later on in the future through auction, and they're looking at recordings and artwork and books and things like that. So I feel like there's this other story that's taking place in the future that we're getting spoon fed, whereas the main part of the story, which takes place in the past, we're just on pace to see like more and more and more fantastical things happen. I'm really excited. I'm loving every single thing from this issue. The artwork is just gorgeous to look at. When I say fantastical, I don't know if there's a better word to use to describe Bilquis's artwork. It is just ethereal, it is free flowing, it is beautiful to look at, and it is absolutely the best artistic approach to take on this particular story. Helen of Windhorn #3, top comic of the week, well deserved. Great job to the creative team on this. If you read it, let me know your thoughts down below. All right, but that's what I got for you this week. But do me a favor, I'm more curious. What did you read and what were your thoughts? Like, share, and subscribe, and do me a favor, leave a comment down below to be part of the panel. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next week.